After a slow start to World War II, OpTic Gaming's roster could be making a change. Now the question remains, is the dynasty over? Of course, after a top 16 finish at CWL Seattle and getting knocked out in a hot 3-0, that ties for the worst placement in OpTic Gaming's history, going all the way back to the MLG Fall Championship in 2013, which of course was about 5 years ago. And the roster at that time consisted of Nadeshot, Scump, JCap, and Big Timer. And I personally have hinted at this. I think TP has also mentioned this in an interview as well. And I think this really is the case, that complacency has officially set in with OG after winning COD Champs. After searching for that title for years, they finally found it, and now there isn't much now to look forward to, essentially, because you've done everything. You've won everything there is to do. And after the biggest storyline in Call of Duty history has been completed, OpTic Gaming searching for their championship, losing at Champs, losing another Champs. Can they finally win the championship? All the pressure, being under the biggest brand in esports today, being under the OpTic Gaming banner, they finally win their championship. And granted, you could argue at the rate of which they did it, how long it took them for them to grab it. But of course, they do it. They've done the championship, they found it, and they've won everything else there is to do. And now that the complacency starts to set in, the issues of tournament performances so far in World War II, their their lack of consistency at tournaments, their lack of practice. Seattle to me really was the breaking point for this team as far as should a change be made? Is it time to kind of call the dynasty essentially quits? So I think there's a lot of speculation to talk about. We're covering everything, obviously, but the main question for me in all of RosterMania, especially for OpTic Gaming right now, the main question isn't to be asking, is OpTic Gaming making a change? Rather, how serious is the change going to be? And I've been hearing rumors from very reliable sources regarding a number of different topics, but one of them is obviously suggesting that the OpTic Gaming players haven't even been under contract due to internal disagreements with Infinite Esports and OpTic Gaming, which I do believe to be true. I've heard from very reliable sources that is the case, that OpTic did not re-sign their contracts due to personal problems, personal kind of internal problems with the Infinite Esports group, which of course has been regarded under the, kind of parent company to OpTic Gaming, now own a majority stake in OpTic as well. They kind of make the decisions, and it seems as if the OpTic Gaming organization, the players essentially, haven't been happy with the decisions that have been made. Of course, along with, topics along those lines, I did actually see a video that came in from Hitch on his recent Around the Bar segment. He mentioned that he normally is informed or given info around the team's changes or intel around the roster. He said it feels weirder this time, and everyone's been a lot more distant and has no idea what is about to happen. So that just goes to show that, even certain members of the organization, players within the, or not players, but the, kind of members in the organization aren't even for sure of what's going to happen with this team. And it feels weirder this time. Of course, that could relate to maybe just a change with the, the roster, or is it even a total org change coming through from the players as well? Which, like I said, goes to show that this change could be more internal, do we think? How big is the circle discussing the future of the players, and do the orgs even have a say if OpTic hasn't been under contract? Because essentially they don't. And like I said, you don't really know the full details as far as, what really could happen with this team if you're an organization's point of view, because you have no power over them anymore if they haven't been signing a contract. But if there is somewhat of a contract in there, that could be, be a possibility. But still, though, I've also been hearing rumors along the lines of Karma has been calling it quits. He's kind of hanging up the sticks, calling it, quits, or at least for right now, and retiring from Call of Duty, which I do not believe to be true. But you have to, imagine, right? If this were to occur, Karma does get released from the team, or at least a trade happens where Karma is no longer with the other three players, right? You have to imagine the stress, the pressure that he's been under definitely has had the biggest spotlight under him of any player. I think it's fair to say, at least as of recent. Who wouldn't want a break, especially after all that you've been through? Even after being released, who wouldn't want to take a break? 3 world championships, and people are still calling you the worst player in OpTic Gaming, which due to statistics and whatnot, that could be possible. That is obviously the case. But to me, it's just a matter of who wouldn't want a break after this. But I think that it is possible. I'm not really sure that Karma's willing to kind of retire here. Along with the decision for Karma also relates to rumors suggesting 100 Thieves, which is under ownership of Matt Hag, aka Nadeshot, remember him? Previous player for OpTic Gaming and one of the largest esports known figures in the world, has mentioned in past how he'd love to even just have one player of OpTic Gaming under the 100 Thieves banner. I think personally, this is a pretty interesting venture when you really look at it, right? The players wouldn't be opposed to a familiar face, and a man who was a part of the original 4-man roster dynasty and saying, hey, how about you come over to my organization? The success that we're having in League of Legends goes to show that we have at least somewhat of a decent base around us. Why not join with another organization? They have apparently been receiving offers from different orgs as well, according to rumors too. So could it be 100T? Very possible. And along with that speculation, a user known as Burner 2018 Mania has been releasing some info regarding a number of different changes, and according to tweets, he definitely seems somewhat viable for roster moves, mentioning in his post how Scump and other teammates one other teammate are a team of 2 and wanting to leave the organization. Also that they want to get gunless, which could make sense according to the picture that was actually posted post-Seattle, actually, with Scump and Formal sitting down and speaking to Gunless, kind of around a table. We're not exactly sure, what really happened there, but it is obviously possible. Also in this post, he mentioned an organization has been at the last few events and has been talking with the OG players as a result. OpTic Gaming, according to his post as well, have received an offer and they want to take it because they haven't been getting paid since the start of the year. I personally agree with at least the very last statement, of this Reddit post being the factor that they haven't been getting paid by the organization. The contracts have already ended due to internal issues with Infinite Esports and OpTic Gaming, like I mentioned as well. But of course, this is speculation. If it turned out to be true, someone is on the inside, though. Someone has got to know something. People are speculating whether it's a pro player, whether it's a friend of the OpTic Gaming organization as well. Who could it really be leaking all this info? But as far as my personal opinion on everything that we've talked about, all the discussions, the roster moves, etc., I think a change is definitely happening with the OpTic Gaming players. I think they'll no longer be competing with Karma moving forward. He's mentioned on Twitter how he doesn't know what's happening. On Reddit, he said, post-Season 1 playoffs, he was getting the can if he didn't perform well. So I think Karma is gone. I think they move forward with the original 3. And I personally think Infinite/OpTic is going to have to make a case to the players and convince them to stay on the organization because they definitely are considering switching. And it's something to keep your eye out for, right? I think from what I've heard, reliable sources have told that they are no longer under contract with Infinite and or OpTic as well, and they want to move forward and are at least seeking out other offers. So to me, if I'm Infinite/OpTic at this point, we don't want to lose essentially one of our most profitable teams as far as a media standpoint. Why would we want to drop these players? Of course, according to what they'd like to do, remains up to them. But I think they're going to have to make a case, and I think it's something to 100% keep your eye out for. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if we see 100T or another organization like that in the COD Pro League Stage 2, I'll say that much. But, of course, guys, there's a lot to be looking out for, a lot of speculation, a lot of roster rumors kind of going around. I think another possibility that could occur is players from LG like Octane, like John as well, could be maybe joining under the other OpTic players as well. Of course, you talk about roles. Karma can't really be on the team if John ends up joining or vice versa. If Formal were to, leave the team, essentially, that means that you could bring on Octane. But with trades and whatnot, how does that really all work out? Does LG really want Karma in exchange for John? Like I said, there's a lot of stuff to really be looking at. And really, if OpTic doesn't have essentially, an organization behind them to offer these trades or to give money essentially for a trade, then, what do organizations like LG really have to do in this situation? There's a lot to really be talking about. It's definitely one of the biggest talking points, probably, and could be in Call of Duty history, one of the biggest changes of all time, seeing the largest and the best dynasty of all time finally splitting apart after, almost 4 years, essentially, of being together. There's a lot to say, but is the OpTic dynasty finally coming to an end? I think it definitely is.